Okay, so today for this particular interview, I have Tasanee. Man, Tasanee been working together for quite some time. But before we jump into it, I'm gonna let Tasanee go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Tasanee Jaroid. Born and raised in Chicago. Now I'm based in Orlando, Florida, and I am a visual artist. My primary medium is painting, and I paint to heal, empower, and uplift the Black diaspora. So a lot of the things you'll see is really based on Afro Indigenous culture and healing.
I'm with you. How long you been in Orlando?
Ooh, about 5 years now.
Just curious. We literally just had someone on our team, Steven. He just moved to Orlando maybe like 3 months ago. He's freaking love it.
Oh, good. You can't beat the weather.
Yeah, that's why I said the weather gotta be like amazing.
Yeah.
It's a huge change from Chicago. But we're getting off topic. So for everybody that is here, how can they find you if they want to go check out your artwork afterwards? What's your Instagram?
You can follow me at Tasanee Art. So my first name, Tasanee Art on all social media platforms.
Okay, cool. And like let's just jump into it. 10 minutes. What got you into creating artwork? Like ever since being young.
Whew. I I always loved art and math growing up. Those were my two subjects. Any other subject, I was like, eh. Art and math were my jam. Um, so that I, of course, always drew crayons, anything. Um, and then fast forward to high school and college, got into architecture. So that started to inform a lot of how I drew. That kind of brought in a lot of the technical aspects of my drawing. Um, and then fast forward, kind of took a break from art for a while because I wanted to become licensed. When I got my license to be an architect, that's when I was like, great, going back full force into my artwork, and I started drawing again. But when I started drawing again, do you know like the like contour line drawing, and you're not supposed to look at the
Mhm.
paper? I started
Yeah.
doing those.
The
Yeah,
little we kind of like just draw randomly. Did you used to
yeah,
go behind and try to make it into actual drawing?
yeah.
When I was younger, my teacher in school at art schools to have us do that, and I think that's one of the most amazing exercises. Like you, for those who don't know, basically you just kind of like correct me if I'm wrong if you're talking about the same thing, but you kind of like just look away, draw like scribbles all over the paper, and then you look back at the paper and then you try to turn that into artwork, art piece.
Yes, I've done. I did those, and then I did the ones where you're supposed to look at an object or whatever subject, and you're supposed to draw it without looking at the paper.
Yeah,
Those
I
were.
mean,
It was fun and a challenge, so I just started doing those. And then um, I started going into local shows.
before you continue, I'm gonna pause for a second.
Yeah.
For those watching right now, just so I got the vision because I already know how to sign a work look. Before you even continue this interview, it's best to pause and then go check out to sign it work because then you'll be like, oh, I get it now. The contour lines, it makes sense. So I'm gonna say it again. Like, what's your Instagram again? It's Tasanee Art.
Yes.
Okay, go check out our artwork. Pause the video. You're gonna be like, holy shit, there's some good stuff. And then come back, and then it's gonna all make sense. All right, what was that?
I started drawing and I started going into local shows. And this was, I want to say 2018, 2019, right before the shutdown. Because I wanted to start to get to know more of the community and get to know where the other artsy folks were in Orlando. And people would start coming up to me when they saw my work. And it started off as, oh my gosh, your work is beautiful. But then it would go deep into stories of like people who went to rehab and now, they're fine again. And that piece reminded them of that. Or nostalgic, when they were talking about their hair and the culture of the Crown Act, etc. And so I was just like, okay, this is way bigger than me and bigger than a hobby. So then I started taking it a bit further, started the business, and started taking it more of an entrepreneurial approach to it. But I started painting 3 years ago in response to ending an abusive relationship of 7 years. So that was the first time I took up a paintbrush, and that was a way for me to release the pent up emotions. And then I started to connect with people more once I started to really be transparent about my story.
So tell me this. At this point, you good?
Yeah.
Tell me this. At this point, you went to architectural school, left, creating artwork, loving it, doing a couple of fairs, but it wasn't until you got to a point where you sharing your artwork with these other individuals and they really connecting with your work. And at that point, you kind of like, maybe this is bigger than what I think it is.
Correct.
So at what point did you decide like I'm actually going to pursue this? Like I want to try to earn an income from selling my artwork. Was that before the art fairs, or it was afterwards when you realized people really starting to love your work?
It was after. It was after because I'm never going to forget this. There's a gentleman, he was one of my first collectors. He was like, he bought a piece and he was like, I did not come here to buy artwork, but the story behind your story and the story behind this piece is what made me buy it. He's like, I love your energy, I love your piece, but it was a story. And from then, I was just like, okay, this is serving others
Yeah.
in ways that only art can. And in this way, I felt like only my art could for the people that it resonated with. And so, at on the financial gain from it, I mean, it was a no brainer for me.
How much did you sell that piece for?
Oh gosh, that piece was 800. Is an $800 black and white painting.
But that was one of your first sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
You probably like 800 for art sale. Holy, this
Yeah,
could actually be something. This is some big stuff, right?
yeah.
So let's fast forward now. Fast forward. At what point you decided like I'm gonna look into artist rise? How did you first come across myself and a company?
I saw your ads. Your ads were popping up, man.
Just to give some background for everybody. How long have you been in the training? So like when did you first started seeing like the ads and stuff?
It
When?
was early 2021 because I want
So
to say I
this
joined August of 2021.
so this had to be like what, 3 years, 2 years, something like that.
2.5 years. Yeah.
That's some time.
Yeah.
So then you've been no, this is a really good question. You say you started seeing it early 2021, but you ain't joined till August 2021.
Correct. Yeah.
What,
So
why the gap? What happened? Walk us through it.
honestly, it was mindset. It was a mindset of investing in myself. So I definitely had to work on what it meant to invest in myself and in my business. And so in that gap, I was working. I was working on that, and I was working on deconstructing learned things that were prohibiting me from growing.
Tell me about that. Now, I think it's a really interesting topic because we talk to, at this point, we get anywhere from about 50 to 70 artists scheduling calls every single day. And the mindset part is like one of the biggest ones. And I think you just hit the nail on the head by saying like you have to deconstruct some of those past, I guess you could say like beliefs and mindsets that was put into your brain. Are you talking about like certain things that was said by like family, friends? Like what are some of those things?
Whew.
Like a deconstruct.
But that's oh man, family, friends, myself. You know, people who you thought were supportive but really weren't. You know, you start practicing discernment, and but a lot of it was me. You know, because you know your environment does shape you a lot, but you can get yourself out of that environment. So it really takes you. You know, it's like a seed. If you plant it in soil, if you plant it in some toxic soil, it'll grow, but it's not going to grow right. But if you plant it in some very nutrient rich soil, it's going to grow to be what it's supposed to be. So that was that transition for me. But it was everybody. It was everybody. It was me.
You know what? Fun fact. I was just having a conversation with my mom about this actually a few days ago, and I was talking to her about how what happens is when growing up, what's going on is like your parents, then your parents, and then their parents, and their parents' parents all follow the same mindset, same tradition. So when your parents and your friends and everybody is telling you one thing, they're not telling you wrong. They tell you what they believe is right, but unfortunately, that's just their version of right, and their version of right is not always correct. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gave me chills. Yes, I
And it's the
completely.
same thing. I thought about this all the time. And just because something is correct in your mind, necessarily make it correct in reality. And sometimes the best thing to do is to not go back and forth to try to prove them right or prove them wrong or anything like that. But it's to understand that it's not proving them wrong because they was never wrong, because in their reality, that's correct. But it's understand that their reality is not always your reality. And what happens is, and this is for everybody, we get off the subject, but I think it's a good topic.
Yeah,
But what happens is when you associate, we think just because somebody our parents or just because somebody love us, we need to automatically associate our reality with their reality. We understand at the end of the day, we all individuals living like our own life. So the cool thing is, it's very hard for people to understand this. And it seemed like in that deconstructing phase of yours, you really start to realize like, this is my life. This is my reality. So I'm gonna make my decisions and work on me for me and
yeah,
make the decisions I want that I personally believe is right in my mind.
yeah. That's honestly that's one of the keys of life, and especially like for as an artist, and even like tying it to Artist Rise, like having that discipline, having that belief, having that vision, and then executing, and I
So
feel like
tell
that.
me this, and
Mhm.
I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
We have a lot of catching up to do. Tell me this. So what was the, and it's gonna be a tough question, but what was the switch? Like what was after doing all the deconstructing, what made you realize like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be?
Mhm. In terms of Artist Rise.
Just in general, as far as I'm not artist right, but just in general as like pursuing your art career and investing in yourself as a visual artist.
Ooh, ooh. It was it was when I it was when I finally got into that environment where I could be still and think about the path that I wanted to go on. Like I had a clarity of mind, so I could figure that out. Um, and
So
then
you're
that's
saying, are you saying it's safe to say sometimes, just like as artists or just as people, sometimes we have to step back and really, really think what we want for us?
oh, absolutely, because I mean, society, the media, shoot, your neighbors, they will try to tell you who you are, you know? And it's like you have to constantly resist. That's the best word that comes to mind, but resist that because it's always going to be coming at you. So you have to remain calm, be at peace. Sometimes you got to take a step back. You might have to realign. Like every start of the year, I do a vision board, and that helps me realign. Like this year, I'm going to make $5.4 million selling art. I already put that on my vision board. It's going to happen. No,
We're
but
gonna
in all,
get to we're gonna get to that too, by the way.
okay.
Tell me this. So now coming back around full circle, you had this realization with yourself, you've been working on yourself, and now it's August. What made you decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna schedule another call? Well, I'm gonna schedule a call for the first time.
That was when I made a huge transition in my life, personally and professionally. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to invest in myself for
I'm gonna
once.
pause. We could skip this question. But are you okay with sharing what that transition was?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I had recently changed my job. Wasn't no ill blood. It was a step in the direction that I wanted to pivot professionally. And then personally, well, ending of the abusive relationship kicked him out. It was great. So that was the personal transition. So I had my space to myself.
But yeah, space to yourself. You feel free, feel alive, and then I'll let you continue from there.
Yeah. And then I had the clarity. So when I made the call, scheduled the call, um, and I remember I was able to speak with you.
So at this time, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pause for a second.
Okay.
So everybody can understand, because everybody want to get on a call with me. I don't do calls anymore.
Oh
Keep
no.
in mind, Tasanee got on a call me 2.5 years ago. So it's like pretty early. Now we meeting for the first time, getting on this call. Matter of fact, I don't even think this was it face to face or was it a phone call? I can't even remember.
I think it was face to face. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you'll remember this face if it was face to face. No, I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. So tell me this. With that being said, what was that like? So we got on the call and what happened?
It was definitely a aha moment and a
Wait, you say a hot moment or a aha
aha,
moment?
like kind of a coming to realization moment.
Oh yeah, like a aha moment. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember we talked about mindset heavily. We talked about mindset heavily, and you asked me how much I would like to make every month. And I'm coming prepared. I'm like, oh, I want to make this. You're like,
What was the number? You remember? I don't remember.
it was, I think it was 5K. I think it was 5K. And you were like, why? And I was like, oh, and the confidence just wasn't there because I didn't have the belief in myself. As much as I had belief in making artwork and serving others, I was just like, oh, me, I don't know. So that was a huge, like, fire up the butt, to figure out what it is that I really wanted to focus on and that I needed to join a community like Artist Rise to get to where I'm trying to go.
So on that call, you started like gain some belief, like, holy crap, maybe I can do this from this conversation. Maybe what this guy is saying makes sense. I can't remember our call, but I know at that time it was kind of like just me. And I was just in this like myself, just if I see your potential, I'm pushing you. Not necessarily pushing you to like get started into the program, but push you to just at least think further.
Yeah.
So I was asking like a lot of questions on those calls, like why you want that, but what that mean to you? Is that what
Yes,
you really want? How would life be different if you achieved that? And then the call probably got like kind of deep at some point and had you thinking.
it did. It did. I remember because I ran downstairs in the lobby because I didn't want to be upstairs in the open office. I remember I was taking notes, like feverishly taking notes. Um, and I remember getting off the call and I still thought about it because I remember you offered me the opportunity and I like
Before we
hesitated.
get to that, and I don't mean to cut you off, and I'm gonna let you finish that. So tell me this. Now, you mentioned, keep in mind, most people see this as a sales call, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that like you was in, I forgot where you said you was at, but you ended up running downstairs to the lobby to take notes, right? So what was that? Did you ever feel like you was on a sales call at any point? Or did you feel like this was like a freaking, what did it feel? What did it feel like? I'd rather just ask.
Therapy. No, really. It felt or like leadership coaching mixed with art. It didn't feel like a sales call. It
It was
didn't.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Yeah.
goal. That was
Okay,
the
good.
goal. So, all right, now I'm gonna let you continue. So on the call, We had the most phenomenal call level, and for some reason, Tasanee still told me no. So talk about that.
Ah, I hesitated. I hesitated. And I can't even give you a reason. It would be an excuse. I couldn't even give you an excuse of why I did that. And I
It
think I
happened.
called you the next day.
It happens.
I think I called you the next day. You were like, "Sorry." I'm like, "Hi."
Wait. Say it again. What happened?
I called you back like the next day. You're like, "Oh, hey, Susanna." I'm like, "Hi. Let's do it."
So we had a call, had a phenomenal call. I'm like, I'm assuming I probably have to be like, Tasani, I think you should be doing this. Like this, I think this is the training for you. Let's do it. And then you're like, nope, get off the call. The next thing you know, you give me a call the next day, right? And give me a call next day, and I'm like, Tasani, what's going on? It's good to hear from you. So then what happened?
And I was like,
First,
"Okay."
before we get to what happened, what made you over that night decide I'm gonna get back on a call? I'm gonna call back.
Well, I did reach out to an artist who was in the community.
You remember
Um,
who?
oh my
We
goodness.
going back like almost 3 years. If you don't, that's
No, her face is in my mind. And she draws very beautiful, vibrant paintings of animals.
of
Oh my,
animals.
ah, I apologize.
2.5 years ago, was she in the United States, overseas?
She's overseas.
Louise McNutt?
Yes.
Was it
Yep.
her? Danielle Tomlinson?
No, it was Louise.
Louise.
Louise. Yep.
Yeah. By
And
the way, Louise started working with me at the end of 20. Louise was one of the first 10 artists before I had any results, any artists, anything to be like, you know what? I don't know if the stuff you teaching if it would work, but I don't got nothing to lose. I'll give you a shot. And next thing you know, we still like work together to this day, which is crazy. So you reached out to Louise. What happened? Now I'm just
and
trying to give everybody the details here.
yeah, I DM'd her. I was like, oh, and I mean, she spoke so highly of you and Artist Rise, so highly of you and Artist Rise, and she was like, do it. I remember those were her last words. She was like, do it. And I was like, okay, this is all.
We're gonna take a pause here. We're gonna take a pause here. Take a pause to say, like, shout out to Louise. If you don't know who she is, feel free to even go check out Louise work. I want to say it's Louise McNutt. Louise underscore McNutt McNaught_art. Another amazing artist, by the way. But since we kind of like talking about it, I thought that'd be cool just a shout out. Okay.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. I don't know if she remembers me sliding in DMs, but thank you, because she was the one who really pushed me off the edge to do it.
Okay. So she's like, just do it. Then you give me a call back. What happened?
Yeah. And you're like, oh, Tasanee, like, great to hear from you. And like, hey, Jaroid, I was thinking it through. I spoke to an artist in the community. I'm ready to make the investment.
Then we started working together.
Yep.
One of my favorite questions is once you made that investment, then you got into the group, you seen all the other artists. What were you thinking?
Oh my goodness, I was so charged up. Like I was hyped, Jaroid. I was like, let's go. Like it's you see the growth in people. I'm going back till I want to say like 2019 or
Every
you
artist do
know.
this. They get it. I
Yeah.
think it's this thing of so this is what we say. We have this like this is like an inside thing for our team, but I say it here. We always say like there's two type of artists. There's the ones who work with us and they get like crazy results. And there's the ones that see the crazy results and it just be too crazy for them to believe, so they don't work with us. So
Mhm.
then when we get an artist that see that crazy result that's too crazy to believe, when they do get into training, it's like the first thing all artists go do is just go like see all the other artists' success and like, holy crap, this is actually real. So you was kind of going through that little phase of just going to look at everybody's success stories and stuff.
Yeah, success stories, and then it was awesome seeing the growth, you know. And then I started creating my stalker list so I can like reach out to artists. That was fun.
So yeah, the stalker list of artists inside the train, like have to reach
Oh
out to
yeah.
them.
Oh,
So now that you're in a training, let's get to the stuff everybody want to know. And this is where it's gonna get good. So it's been 2.5 years since we was working together. How long did it take for you to make your first initial sale?
Ooh, my very first sale. It was that year. I want to say it was in November. It was like right before the holidays.
So about 4 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Going through the training. Now, as of today, the trend is like pretty much different. We wasn't talking much about Instagram, we was a hyper focusing on Facebook. So at that time, what was like the biggest struggle for you?
Ooh.
Or
The
what did you
biggest,
find to be the most complicated in the training?
not focusing too much on the numbers and not focusing on getting content out. That,
That's a good answer.
oh man, I was just like, but the analytics, and the comment ratio to the DM ratio, and it was, I got so into my head, into my head, to the point where I wasn't even following the training at some point, and I felt like I wandered off the path, and I had to steer back onto it, because a huge part of marketing and a lot of what we learn is like getting out there, putting yourself out there, putting your face and the artwork out there so they don't know it's a robot creating it, putting your story out there, being transparent, being authentic, and not just sitting around hiding behind your canvas thinking that fish are going to just come to your fishing line, or that people are going to find you in that way. So like getting yourself out there, putting in the work and executing.
So with that being said, at what point you really started to have fish come to your fishing line?
Oof.
So
Ooh.
we seen the first sale in November.
Yeah.
When did you really start gaining like traction or so?
Mm, I would say mid last year. It's like it started to really, really pick up.
And this I wanted to go with this. One thing I do remember from we talking what you say like what that was August 2021
Yeah.
to what you say May last year.
Yes.
So that's an entire year of father training, deviating from the training, coming back to the training, making mistakes, learning, and consistent sales, slow improvement. So my question is like after 12 months of like, yeah, you was making some sales. I remember you was having some good months, some not so good months. It was really inconsistent. But what made you stay consistent as far as following just the process as a whole? Like what made you stay in the training? You know what? I'm gonna keep applying this. I'm gonna keep trying.
Honestly, because you keep trying, eventually you will get there. If you quit, you'll never get there. So that was my motto, was I had to keep going and trust the process. Trust your mentorship, trust the community, trust in myself. Um, and for me, grit and passion have to harmonize. There's gonna be moments where I'm just like grit, passion, 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 and there's gonna be points where I'm just like all grit, just hustle, 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 and no passion, or very little passion, I should say. So that is what really held me afloat. And then, of course, the community helps too. Kind of because this is a lifetime commitment, especially I feel like with creatives, artists in general, when we decide that we want to build a legacy and build financial gain based off of the products that we create, this is a lifetime. And we're delusional in a good way to be able to push through that through grit and passion. So if it wasn't for this community, which we uplift each other when we're in those ruts, we're like, hey, you got to keep it going. Sometimes you get that tough love, and that's what you need sometimes. That's what really pushed me to keep going. There's no other way unless I quit, and I'm not quitting.
So you just like, you know what? I'm here for a reason. Just the path I chose, so I'm gonna stay on it. And then at the same time, you have that community there to just
Yeah.
support you, encourage you. They sharing their results. So I'm pretty sure I was inspiring you, and you're like, if they could do it, I could do it.
Yeah, that support is huge. It's so huge because without it, oh man.
I be telling new artists, I say, funny enough, artists have like the program, the mentorship for myself, the mentors that's in a program. But out of everything, what the artists all seem to love is that community. Like it's like a freaking family going on. You have certain artists making videos talking about their success, writing 6 paragraph posts talking about what happened. They now got a freaking group called like I forgot what it's called, like Pretty Girl Problems or
Yeah.
something like that. I'm like now y'all creating like subgroups inside the training and but overall it's like amazing to see that how everybody
Yeah.
come together and just like be a big family.
Yeah. Can I shout out one other artist too? MJ.
MJ is freaking amazing.
He was awesome. We were on the phone. I feel like I took.
I had a phone call.
Yes. Oh crap.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
it wasn't bad. It was.
Go ahead. What
I
happened?
needed some encouragement with my consistency on posting on Instagram, and
Okay,
so
so let's
he really.
pause.
Hmm?
We're gonna pause. For people who don't know, everybody kind of like know MJ at this point. I think MJ had most likely the fastest growing Instagram page in 2023. Funny enough. To give a little background, shout out MJ. It's literally MJ Realism. MJ met me with like 2,000 followers. I don't know why my computer be having these little.
That's cool.
One of them was send balloons, but we're gonna stay on topic. MJ had like 2,000 followers, and in 2.5 months, 2.5 to 3 months, MJ grew to almost 500,000 followers. I think like right now he's at 475,000 followers or something. It was like a crazy growth spurt in like 3 months. So definitely huge shout out to MJ. He a mentor in the training now, which is pretty cool. I don't know how him and Tasanee getting on phone calls, but I'm gonna let you continue. What's going on? What happened? So y'all had a phone call, had a chat.
Yeah, and I was just able to get some questions out, and because that were just
Yeah.
hibernating in my head, and just had
Hmm.
to talk to someone, and I thought he was the best person in the community because of his growth, and
Right.
he was so like welcoming to hop on a call. I was like, I was fine just messaging. I didn't want to like take your time, but it was great. It was great, and that really pushed me to just keep going with the consistency of my posting and to not get so into my head.
No, with you. So tell me this. At this point, now we mid 2023, right? So now mid 2023. By the way, I just realized earlier we said 12 months. It was like 24 months of consistent hard work, which is insane. Like that was 2 years of consistent hard work before you start to see real like growth.
Yeah.
Insane. But now we mid 2023. Update us. What happened? What changed? I know you've been waiting to get to this point.
So I was so between like the first sale and mid last year or mid 2023, it was very sporadic the sales I would make. I would probably make a few $100 one month, then I would make like 1.5K. And then middle of last year, I started to see a little bit more momentum, um, mostly from Instagram
The
and
MJ effect.
oh, and through personal connections. And to this day, a lot of the sales and opportunities that I get are from people who are talking about me in rooms that I'm not in. So that's a blessing. But I started making consistent sales of about 3K a month. Um, and a lot of them were from local collectors, and then from collectors that I met like years back, and they bought like a print from me before, and then they came back and were like, "Oh, I want an original or I want a commission." I'm like, "What? Okay." So that started to pick up, and then I started having these unique opportunities with companies and with individuals like interior designers, photographers, and then they would put my name out in other things. And I loved it. I was just like, oh man, and that would bring new like collectors into my space where then I was able to make a sale, whether it was a sale of a limited edition print or original piece or commissions. And so then I started making about 3 to 5K a month. And then happy to say that my first month that was over 5K was in October of last year.
How much did you make in October of last year?
I mean, don't laugh. It was 500 more than 5K, but it was 5,500. But still, you gotta celebrate the small, like every victory. I'm not gonna say
That's
every.
a big victory. That's a big victory.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for just being so persistent. That's the real word. To be so persistent after so much time. Next thing you know, you have this 55 K month. Well, not 55K, but 5.5K month. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this point, how Tasanee is feeling after having like a 5.5K month with already consistent sales coming in place before that.
Oh man, I felt so good. I felt really good. Of course, I'm saying celebrate victories, and I'm so bad with that. And I had a mentor. Sorry, like quick backstory. I had a mentor, and whenever I had an achievement in life, she'd be like, "Oh, cool, 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 but did you celebrate?" I was just like, "No, I'm on to the next thing." So of course, that's what I did in October. I was like, "All right, on to the next thing." November, like, what am I gonna make? Um, November was quiet, but December. December, that's when I hit my first
Go ahead.
10K, 9K or 10K.
That's a big. I'm gonna
I'm
tell you
playing.
this. That's a big difference between 9 and 10K. Was it 9 or was it 10?
It was a $5,500, a couple of limited edition prints, and one that's pending. So I guess that would go into January. But one that's pending, that would be another 5,500.
So it really could be like 12K, but I just say 9. I just say 9.5. But you just brought something else to my attention. You went from selling your artworks, and I feel like we even talked about this, but you went from selling your artworks from, like you said, at first sale 800, and now you're talking about two sales at 5.5K. You talking about two sales at 5,500.
Mhm.
How did you get to that point? And because I usually say that's a mindset thing.
It
So what
is
happened to make you go from selling at 800 to almost 6,000?
delusion.
What's the
No,
single piece?
it took confidence in knowing the value that I'm providing through my artwork and through nurturing the connections that I already have. Um, I feel like that's really important too. That's really important because then you build rapport like we talk about, and it's like you concrete the connections that you're having with people that you may or may not have, never met before. Um, and that makes a huge difference. Like one of the 5.5K sales um, is actually a 7.5, but I was able to meet with them. We had coffee, and I didn't lessen the price. It turns out that it's a couple. They're so super sweet, but the woman, she is a leadership coach, and her prices are about 2K for so many sessions. And I was like, oh, problem solved. Let me get some sessions. We'll bump that down. Well, I don't want to say bump it down. I'll offer you 5.5K with the sessions. Boom. And now I have an even deeper connection with this collector. And she's in Miami. She wants to be friends. I'm like, let's do it. And she's going to have a piece. So this is a win-win-win. So that in and of itself feeds my belief and my confidence, knowing that I can um, have these prices, and that
Yeah.
eventually, as time goes and as I continue to nurture these relationships and gain more collectors, I'll be able to grow those prices and increase them.
No, 100% agree. 100% agree. So, with that being said, now we're into 2024. Looking back, right? I always have to ask, if you had to look back at 2021 Tasanee, when you first joined a training, what advice would you have given yourself? Like 2024 Tasanee, looking back at 2021 Tasanee when she first got started.
Whew. I would say I would tell myself to never let anyone take your dreams away, no matter who they are, not even like your own mother, like just to keep going.
100% agree with that. I need to give advice to a couple more people. So let me ask you this. The person that's sitting in front of the computer right now watching this interview, which is most likely a visual artist, what advice would you give them?
Ooh, there's one, if I could give them one piece of advice, don't lose sight of your imagination. And what I mean by that is that if you lose sight of the vision of if you lose sight of that imagination of you becoming who you're trying to become, whether that is a renowned international artist, whether that is an entrepreneur that is making 6, 7+ figures, whether that's someone who wants to give back to their community and create an incubator hub, whatever it is, don't lose sight of your imagination, because the minute it's ripped away, the easier it's going to be for you to lose that persistence, that grit, that passion that we were talking about.
No, 100% agree. This is some good stuff here. I need to pull out my pen and paper and take some notes. Tell me this. Now, let's say for the artist that's sitting on the other side of the screen thinking, you know what? This all sounds like a good plan. I'm gonna join Artist Rise. They get started and they new to the training. What advice would you give them to that new artist inside the training?
Stay your authentic self, because I feel like I mean, the whole community are freaking heavy hitters. You know, they're awesome. And I feel like it's easy to absorb that and want to be similar, or maybe you feel like you're not equipped, whatever the case may be. Just know that you are, and that it's going to take work, and you're going to be fine. But um, just stay true to yourself, stay authentic, and just keep moving forward.
I have to pause you there. That answer is so beautiful. It's to the point where any new artist my team bring on, I have them tell the new artist the same thing. It literally
Wow.
goes like this. We say, here's the thing. Once you join this community, you're gonna be seeing artists do some really crazy numbers, some numbers that you probably never even thought was imaginable. And you're gonna hear them talk about it like it's just so easy. And you're
Mhm.
gonna hear them talk about it often. You're gonna hear the numbers get thrown around like freaking 10,000 and $15,000 sales and 20,000 and $60,000 months, and just some crazy growth numbers such as 10 million views on a single video. And when you start to see it happen, you can start to feel like you're not doing enough because you're seeing these numbers happen often. But just understand like that's not common whatsoever. And just understand like you're in your own lane on your own journey, going towards your own destination. And your destination and other artists' destination could be two completely different destinations. There's times I seen artists get on a call with me, so excited and dream of getting a 5,000 a month. Like they're like, Drew, if I can get the 5,000, I'd be the most happiest artist in the world. Get inside the training, see multiple artists doing 10,000, and now they're doing 5,000, and then they come on the Q&A call and they're like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. And I'm like, what? You're hitting your goal, you're crushing it. So what you said was like spot on. Like just understand what you after and just focus on like you. Just be inspired by others, but understand that their goals are their goals, your goals are your goals.
Absolutely.
And it's always amazing to be surrounded by like I forgot what you call it. What you said? They're like freaking beasts.
Oh, heavy hitters. We got some
Heavy
heavy hitters,
hitters, heavy
man.
hitters. It's always amazing to be surrounded by some heavy hitters, right? But don't let those heavy hitters knock you down.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, we on fire today. That was off the top of my head just now too.
That's good.
Understand? Yeah, them heavy hitters on the same team. So, with that being said, as a wrap up, one more question. If you have to give advice to Jaroid, what
Oh,
advice would you give him?
dang. Hmm. Ooh, I don't know. This stumped me. Of course, it's the last question. I think, oh, I do have a piece of advice. And I know it would be a challenging one, but I think it would be a really deep, neat opportunity if we could do like an in person event. I'm thinking like an expo. No, like, but somewhere where like the community could come together like face to face. That would be so cool. And we could have like talks. Can I be a part of the committee? Just, just you're not writing this down, Jaroid. What's happening?
It's being recorded. No worries. It's being recorded. Funny enough, that is something we plan on working on. Is to I'm kind of like I'm speaking way ahead of myself. I shouldn't even be saying this stuff, but that is something we're working on. So we're actually working on a lot, like a lot in 2024. I think it's gonna be an amazing year. This year started off kind of crazy for me, but this is gonna be one amazing year just overall. So we have some cool things planned. I'm not gonna get into the details, but that is one of the things me and the team been talking about. Is just doing like either like a mastermind event or just a big hangout at some point. We just have to figure it out. Like if we do end up doing it, we might end up doing two, like one in the US somewhere and then one in the UK because we do have like a lot of artists in the UK.
That would be amazing.
But yeah, that's something we definitely thinking about, and it's something that's in the works. Overall, I think this was an absolutely phenomenal interview. It's probably one of the longest ones I did so far because we talked about so much. And I think it was so good to sign. If you had to leave everybody with one last like statement, what would you leave them with?
Ooh, it's one that I recently read in a book I'm reading, and it. Okay, the one statement I would leave is when creativity comes to you, pursue it even if you don't understand it. And I think that's the same for opportunities too.
So basically, when something that seems pretty amazing, as whether it's an opportunity or a creative idea, just pursue it, even if you don't fully understand it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
add one because it kind of like that just you rub your hands together like, oh, it's getting good.
Hey.
That just made me think about like another quote that go kind of like hand in hand with yours, and I've been telling this to my team. So just like what Tasanee said, as far as like if an opportunity or a creative idea come to you, like just pursue it, even if you don't fully understand it. And let's say if an opportunity comes to you or a creative idea that you don't fully understand, sometimes when we don't understand something, we replace that misunderstanding with fear because we don't know what it may be on the other side. and this is not my quote. A quote I seen was, anytime you face with fear, majority of the time, 99% of the time, fear is usually miles wide, but only an inch deep. So when you step into that water, you realize it's not as bad as you may think it was.
Yo, that's
On that note, we're gonna end this interview right here. Thank you again to Sani. I think it was a
thank you.
phenomenal interview. It was good catching up with you. Thanks to everybody who watched. And you should definitely check out Tasanee because she's a freaking phenomenal artist. And she always have artwork for sale. So if you want a cool piece in your house, just send her a message.
Thank you.
With that being said, peace.